So record this to the cloud. So hey guys, hey, thank you guys for being on with me tonight. I know there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world, and I was thinking what was something positive we could do, and what was something positive that I could do that maybe would help you guys, help your business, or at least help put you kind of in the right direction. Because I know that there's always stuff out there and questions you have and stuff. Anyway, I figured we'd just do a question and answer, and I'd answer whatever questions you guys have, whether it's about me, my career. I've 18 years in the real estate business. And God, I think I've done everything you can think of. I've made tons of mistakes. I've done some right things, man. I've done a lot of wrong things, and that's just what we're here to talk about. So hopefully we all learn something. It'll be a fun night. It'll be way better than what's on the news tonight. And it'll be some strategies and things you can go out there and make some money with, hopefully. So first question here, looking back on your real estate career, is there one thing in particular you wish you would have done sooner to help yourself? John, I'll tell you one thing I wish I would have done sooner, and I wish that I would have spent the money on a real estate coach sooner. Okay, so when I first got in the business, I was a broke college kid. I mean, I had no money. I graduated from Winthrop University. I literally finished school like on a Tuesday, and by that Thursday, Friday, I was living in Myrtle Beach. So when I got started, there was a lot of things I didn't really know about the real estate business, right? I kind of knew a little bit because my dad had been a builder and a developer and a lot of different things, but I didn't know a whole lot, right? So like one thing I didn't know was I didn't know that the office don't really give you any business, you know? And I went to a little office that told me they did a lot of development and building, and that's why I went there. I probably should have went to a larger office with that offered more stuff, right? But I went to a really small office. I ended up getting introduced to this guy. Had a guy in my office that was really taking a ton of listings. He's really good on the phone. And long story short, he told me, he said, "Hey, you got to call sellers." So that's what I did. And really what I should have done was once I got a few closings, once I got some money in the bank, I should have went ahead and spent money on coaching. Now, at that time, there wasn't a lot of affordable options. Like right now, I feel like there's a ton of affordable options for people, whether it's, whether it's like group coaching, like what I offer, or whether it's one-on-one. And like back then, I was paying when I first hired a coach, I was paying $1,200 a month. But what it does, man, is it shortens that distance from A to B. So you can just get where you want to go quicker, so you're not trial and error. So what I did was I did a lot of trial and error. I did a lot of trial and error with my listing process and my listing, like what to do once I got the listing appointment. I was really good on the phone, and I was really good at getting my foot in the door. But when I showed up, I didn't really know what to do then, right? So I would just kind of get there, and I would just kind of hang out and hope something happened, you know? And which was crazy. Like thinking back on it, like, man, I would have hour and a half, 2 hour listing appointments, and I would talk with them about whatever they wanted to talk about. If I thought their football team was the Dallas Cowboys, I was talking to them about the Dallas Cowboys. If their kid went to USC or Clemson, University of South Carolina, I went there. So I would try to find that common thing, right? So long story short, man, I wish that I would have actually figured some of that stuff out a little bit sooner. And I wish I'd have found my actual listing process a little bit sooner, right? That would have been something that would have been, looking back at it, that would have been a big deal for me. So that would be my first thing there. So what's the next question we got? So let's see. I'm trying to get more clients at this time. So what would I do? If I were out there, I was a new agent, and I didn't have like a lot of money, So what would I do if I was a new agent? I didn't have a lot of money and I was trying to get more clients, right? Number one, I would call listings, right? I would, if I was brand new, that's one thing I would do too. I wouldn't waste a whole lot of money on getting leads. I would spend money on, I would spend money on a coach. I wouldn't have spent money on buyer leads. I would have spent money on the tools that I need to list property, like more signs. And then I would go out there and list property. Now, I'd focus on, if I didn't have any money to spend, I'd focus on for sale by owners. I'd go through Craigslist, I'd go through Zillow, I'd go for rent by owners. I would drive through neighborhoods. I'm not a big fan of door knocking. I think by the time you knock on 20 doors, you could have called 100 numbers lots of times, right? So I probably wouldn't door knock, but I definitely, if I had like $100 a month to spend, and really you're investing, I'd invest in Red-X data. You could call them, you can tell them I sent you, go to jasonmorrisredx.com, and they've got a special deal for my group, and it waives $150 setup fee, plus it does some other stuff. So what I would take, and I would focus on expireds, I'd focus on for sale by owners, and I'd focus on for rent by owners, because we know that they have a property and there's a good chance they at least wanted to sell at some point, right? Maybe they don't want to sell today, they wanted to sell at some point. Where a lot of these agents are focusing on circle dialing and they're calling 10, 15, 20,000 numbers a month, and most of those people don't want to do anything. They're looking for a needle in a haystack. I'd go after stuff that was that I knew that people wanted to sell, right? So that's what I would do, man. And if you don't have any business, your job is to go get business. So I would look for people that I would spend a minimum of 2 hours a day. If you have nothing else to do, like no business whatsoever, this is your job, I would spend 4 to 6 hours a day, right? Trying to get and meet as many property sellers as possible. Because if you get, once you get listings, right? They're going to naturally syndicate. You're going to get signs in the ground, and you're going to get buyer leads from those already. And those are going to be the best buyer leads. Rather than go spend $300, $400, $500, $2,000 on Zillow, whatever it costs nowadays to do that, I would not do it. I'd focus on exactly what I just said. And that's what I would actually look at. So let's see, next question. Trying to get more clients. I want to role play and work on a skill set for me to call with confidence. So I'll tell you, Giamatti, I see you got a couple of questions there, and you guys go ahead, keep asking questions, and I'll keep answering them as long as you guys are on the call with me. So I want to role play and work on skill sets for me to call with confidence. Okay, so what I would do if I was a brand new agent and I was just getting started, the number one thing you got to do is you got to pick a script. A lot of agents, what they'll do is they'll use a script, they'll use it for a week, they'll use it for 2 weeks. As soon as they kind of learn the questions and start learning the answers, they switch scripts. Okay, so the bad part about that is that once they switch the script, they go through a new learning process, learning curve, and they got to learn all that shit over again, right? They got to learn the answers to all those questions again. Where if you would stick with the same script, it almost becomes like you're psychic, right? And my scripts are available. They're in my books on Amazon. If you just go to Amazon, search Jason Morris, how to be a FSMA master, how to be an expired master, and how to be an objection master. Get them from there. That's the easiest, quickest place to get them. And I would start practicing those scripts, and I would start making calls as quickly as possible, right? Now that's what I would do with the scripts. I'd stick to a script, because once you ask those questions about 50 times, 100 times, 500 times, that's when you're going to get really, really good, is when you've asked those questions a bunch of times. Okay, so once you ask those questions 500 times, once you ask them 1,000 times, you're going to know all the answers, you're going to know all the objections, and you're going to be able to overcome them. And they're just going to be like second nature to you, right? So it's not going to be, you're not going to go, you're not going to go, and really, really, man, you're going to get the same 3 or 4 objections over and over again. So what are the top objections you'll get? So the top objections you'll get, real estate objections you'll get is really it's, I don't want to work with a realtor. I don't want to pay a commission. Um, I'll pay 3% if you bring me a buyer. And really, if they want to work with a realtor, hey, no problem. I tell you what, let me send you over my marketing package. It tells about me, my team, and what we do to sell houses. When you get ready, you'll have all my information, right? You send them over the pre-listing package and you follow up. Hey, I don't want to pay it. I don't want to pay a commission right now. Hey, no problem. But do you want to sell your house? Right? It's a great question. Do you want to sell your house? Let them say yes. Go through the same process and go through the same thing that we just talked about. I want to. I'll pay 3% if you bring me a buyer. That's one of the greatest objections you can get, because here's the deal. If they're willing to pay you 3%, they understand your value. They understand where you're coming from. You should set an appointment and go on that appointment as quickly as possible, because at that point, you're really just negotiating commissions, right? So, but I would start role playing. I'd start making calls as soon as possible. Now, dealing with confidence. Now, there's a lot of different ways to deal with confidence and your confidence level. Number one, I think you need to do a little evaluation of the people you're around every day. Who are you around? What are they telling you? What do they say when you talk about making calls and prospecting? If they're negative towards prospecting, you probably shouldn't talk to them very much, right? Make friends that are doing the same thing you're doing, right? Get the same group of people. And that's one thing that's great about joining a coaching group, a group coaching group like what I have. But now the other thing to help with your mindset is I like to prospect the same time every day, right? And on the way prospecting, you want to make sure that you want to go through like a priming phase, right? What's the routine that's going to get you pumped up? What's the thing that's going to get you pumped up? What's going to get you really excited about being there and making calls? So now for me, I like music. What if you took that same playlist, those same 5, 10 songs, however long it is from your house to your office, and you listen to those 5, 10 songs, 15 songs that really, really made you really pumped up every day, right? Made you really happy. You know, Black Eyed Peas, I Got a Feeling. You got, it's probably one of my favorite ones. I mean, there's so many out there, but the songs that make you feel good. What if you listen to those songs, you showed up to the office and you felt really good, and you played that same sort of music in your headphones while your dialer's dialing, right? You're going to feel good. You're listening to great music, and you're just going to have a different state. You're going to sound better on the phone, and that is going to shine through with what you're already doing. So the confidence thing is just something you got to work on, man. Once you set a few appointments, go on a few listing appointments, work through the process. And that's something I help with at group coaching. If anybody's interested, just send me a message through Facebook. But you need a process that you're going through over and over again. And once you get a few listings, your confidence is going to go up. You might have to cut out some people to build your confidence. You might have to quit talking to some people, right? Because sometimes I feel like it's kind of crazy sometimes. The people you're around definitely do have an effect on your mindset. So would you do Facebook advertising for sellers? No, I would not. Would you do Facebook advertising for sellers? No, I would not. And the reason I would not is because, well, a couple of things. I think your cost per lead is probably going to be really crazy. It's really going to be crazy, your cost per lead. That's number one. And number two is if you, there's a lot of great services out there. Like ZBuyer's a great service. They do something similar, and they're sending you leads. I would look at buying data. I would rather buy data, because you're going to spend, I'm hearing right now people looking for sellers through Facebook are spending anywhere from 10 to 20 bucks a lead, sometimes even more. And when you're looking with a budget like that, you could spend a couple $100 on RedX, get their number one package, tell them I sent you, tell them Jason Morris sent you, or go to jasonmorrisredx.com. It waives the setup fee. And then that will actually, you're going to get people that you know already sell, and you're going to get a lot of data. Now, I will tell you this. If you are looking for ways to target sellers, specific sellers that want to sell, now, there's some options with RedX where you can take their data. Now, you have to subscribe to Onyx, okay? That is the premium service of RedX. Cost an extra $100. So you're looking at about spending between the Dialer, Onyx, and the regular service. You're looking at spending about $250 a month. Now, what that service gives you, though, it gives you phone numbers, it gives you email addresses, and it gives you queues. Now, if you're good with Facebook, you can actually take that data and you can target those sellers with that data. You can create custom audiences with the RedX data, right? But you got to have the data to do it with to be able to create the Facebook thing. Now, where I think you would get really, really a lot of good results is if you're calling those people, you're sending them something in the mail, and then you retarget it through Facebook, right? So you really got a three-pronged approach where all of a sudden, Giovanni, you're going to be an agent. They really know who you are, right? So service such as Street Text, I don't really know what Street Text is. I'm sorry. There's so many crazy services out there, but what other questions do you guys have? So John, how do you change your mindset on cold calling? It seems so wrong to me. Well, you know what? Here's one thing, man. I know for me, like over the years, my mindset, I developed this idea that I am the best option. You know what? Not saying that I know all the answers, but if I don't know, I know how to go out there and create. No, I know how to go out there and figure it out, right? And a lot of the things that you're going to have to do with changing that mindset, number one is going to be affirmations. Number one's affirmations. Number two is you got to call and you got to start getting some results, right? A lot of agents, they'll say, oh, I don't like to cold call. I don't want to do this. But the biggest problem is they're not calling long enough to be able to get results. So they're thinking that, now here's the deal. You might dial 150, 200 numbers before you set an appointment. But, I mean, that's just what you got to do, you know? I mean, you may end up in group coaching. We done some surveys a while back, and it took about 21, 22 conversations to set one appointment. And of course, if you're dialing real targeted leads, then, you know, like expireds, for sale owners, for rent owners, that number is going to come down a little bit. If you're dialing everybody, it might go up a little bit. But you know, there's always going to be a number game. There's going to be a conversion game. And the thing is, man, there's people out there that truly need your help. You're a smart person. You're on a call. You're looking to better yourself. You're looking to get out there and you're looking to do things in the real estate business. Okay, so you are a great option versus an agent not looking to do things, not looking to better themselves, not wanting to be a better real estate agent. You know, just by you guys being on the call tonight, I mean, you're telling me, hey, I want to do a little bit better than what I'm doing. Hopefully I can get a couple of gems from this call, do a little bit better tomorrow than what I did last week or yesterday, right? So, so really for me, I mean, I'll tell you this, one of the reasons I called, especially when foreclosures and short sales were so big, was because I felt like I was their best option. Like I still feel like that. I still feel like if you're a seller and you're in the Myrtle Beach area, I'm your best option. Maybe I'm not the most knowledgeable agent. Maybe there's other agents in my market that have sold more than me, right? But I know that there's a good chance I know what your problem is. I've probably dealt with it, right? Because I've learned in the real estate business, there's a lot of money in fixing other people's problems. So I've taken a lot of problem listings before. I'll be honest with you. I've taken a lot of problem listings where people had issues that we had to work through and we had to figure out. We had to figure out things with the attorneys. And I made a lot of money. I made a really lot of money figuring out problems. And I think going forward right now we're in the middle of coronavirus time still. For a lot of us, we're at the end of the coronavirus times. We're dude, there's going to be a lot of new problems here in the next 2 or 3 months. And I think as long as you say, hey, look, I'm the best agent to help figure out these problems. And if I don't know how to figure out the problem, or I don't know what the solution to the problem is, I'll figure it out for you. I'll call attorneys, I'll call title companies, and I'll call other real estate agents I've thought had the same thing, and I'll ask questions until we figure it out, right? So I think that is I think that's how you start developing that mindset. And I think that's the mindset you have to have. You have to truly feel like you're calling people to help them, right? So next question. If you're flying solo, what's the best way to role play scenarios and work on scripts? You know what, man? I'll tell you this. RedX has a service I know I keep mentioning Red X over and over, but they're great people and they really, really want you to succeed with their program. Now, here's the deal though. If you're a Red X subscriber, you tell them that I sent you, it saves you a little bit of money. But also they have a role play hotline. Now, I think you should role play scripts. You should read through them. You can read through them by yourself. You can role play with your spouse. You can role play with your significant other. You can role play with literally anybody, right? Now, if you're role playing with another agent, I encourage you to have the same script, because if you don't, if you got the same script, you're just going to benefit more, right? And you're going to benefit from being on both sides of things. Now, scenarios, I would focus on, like, as far as scenarios, I would focus on and just think it through. You know what, man, for a while, what I did was I would write down the objection I was getting. When I got an objection I just couldn't overcome, had no idea, no plan to do it. What I would do was I'd write that objection down, and I'd write down, sometimes I'd write down one, sometimes I'd write down 5 or 6 ways to overcome it. And I would kind of stick with one, and I'd work through that until I got it. But typically, man, we're getting the same objections I was getting 17, 18 years ago when I first started are the objections that sellers are giving us in 2020. You know, if they're talking about the coronavirus, right? They're not giving you objection, they're giving you a condition. If they've got a doctor's appointment tomorrow at 2, so they can't meet you at 3, that's not an objection, that's a condition, right? And I mean, that's the first thing to understand, is an objection versus a condition, because a lot of agents think they're getting objections, but they're not. They're actually getting conditions, which are real things that can only be overcome by time. So, so I'd focus on the biggest ones you get, which are probably, I don't want to use an agent. I'm not ready to list my house. I don't want to pay a commission. Pay me 3% and I'll bring a buyer. I mean, that's probably going to be your top ones. And if you focus on the 3 or 4 that you're getting 70 or 80% of the time, that's going to really, really change the conversations you're having. And think about that. If you focused on the top 3 objections, don't focus on the one that you got 1 out of 1,000 calls. Focus on the ones you get over and over again. We don't want to use a real estate agent. Hey, no problem. You do want to sell your house though. I say, yeah, well, we want to sell our house. Fantastic. Move on. Move on through the script, right? A lot of agents will get an objection, and rather than overcome the objection, move on through the script, they get hung up on that objection and they want to stay there and live in that objection. Oh, you don't want to use an agent. Oh, rather than saying, but you do want to sell your house, right? You know, focus on the problem. They do want to sell their house. Focus on the solution. Well, the solution to their problem, really. And then continue the conversation in the direction you want it to go. A lot of agents, they'll say, oh, we don't want to use an agent. And the agent will go, oh, well, shucks. Well, you know, agents are really good and agents are great. And I would reduce my commission for you, and I would do this and I would do that. And I'd paint your bathroom and I'd cut your grass until the listing sells, right? They focus on the whole, we don't want to use an agent. That is not the problem. That is not the problem. A lot of times, believe it or not, the seller just don't know how agents work. So with that being said, sometimes you just have to explain how you work. Sometimes you have to make sure that they know that, hey, look, I'm not getting a commission up front. You know, we are a pay for performance type thing. If I don't sell your house, you don't owe me anything. And sometimes you have to make sure that they know that, because really the average client that we're working with, if they've sold 2 or 3 houses in the last, say, 5, 7, 10 years, they are extremely experienced. Okay? Most of the sellers that we're working with probably have not sold a property in that market in the last 7 to 10 years, right? And think about that for you guys that are listening to this that have been in the business for a little while. I know for me, dude, the last 3 or 4 years, a lot of stuff's changed. God, we've had stuff change since the end of last year. So we got to kind of make sure that we know that and kind of keep that in mind. So what's the next question you guys have? So let's see, I got one here on Facebook. How would you go about building funnels? I hear so much about this. I'm not sure I understand the process. I would just not build funnels. So how would you go about building funnels for the real estate industry? Me personally, I just would not build them. Right? So, and this is the reason why I wouldn't build funnels. Okay, number one, You can spend a lot of time and a lot of money, and a lot of agents are pursuing that because they sound sexy, they're new, and they're excited. Okay, but the reality of it is, for what it's going to cost for you to get lead pages, ClickFunnels, whatever it is you're going to use, it's going to be several $100s. Then you go out there and try to guess the parameters that you need to spend money on to get traffic to this, because a funnel without traffic doesn't mean anything. Now, the funnel that we need to be focusing on is not the funnel that that a lot of us need, right? Or a lot of us don't need. So I'm going to share this thing with you. Give me just a second here. Just a second, I'll pull it up and I'll show you kind of what I think a funnel is and what I think you should be using as a funnel. So because I think that we get some things confused. Actually, in the real estate business, I think that some of us get a lot of stuff confused. But the thing is, if we can, let's see, I can't seem to locate this right now. But the funnel we need to be working on is actually the process. It is actually the listing. It's the listing process that we need to be going through. Right? A lot of us are focusing on this ClickFunnels funnel, and we should be focusing on the funnel of our business, which basically our business really kind of looks like an oil funnel. I got it right here. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so you guys see this. So this is what our business actually should look like. Now, don't worry about expired leads there. We should be should look like this. Our first conversation should be initial conversations, and it should be basically, hey, do you want to buy a house or do you want to sell a house? Right? Do we have the correct information for you? That's what the first conversation really should be. Now, as we go down through our process, we have the first conversation, people that are interested, people we have correct information for, people that we kind of know they want to do something, right? We want to follow up with those. The people that do want to do something, for sure, we want to follow up with them more. We want to put them in a long-term follow-up plan. Follow-up is actually the key. Now, as we go through them, we got to make those first calls to be able to get the people you follow up with. Now, hopefully those are going to be listing appointments and buyer appointments and turned into signed contracts at the bottom, right? So the problem I see a lot of agents do with their business when they're focusing on their business, they got 5 listings, they got 3 or 4 buyers, they're running around all over town. They seem to forget the little basket up here at the top, right? They forget this little basket, and what ends up happening when they forget the little basket is that little basket right there with all those little balls and stuff in it. They forget about that little basket. They cancel their RedX, they cancel their Zillow, they cancel whatever lead source they're using, right? And then all of a sudden, there's nothing going in the top of the funnel anymore. It's just like pouring oil into your car through a funnel, right? As soon as the can of oil is done, as soon as it's empty, sooner or later the funnel's going to be empty, right? Stuff's going to quit coming out the bottom. Now, what we have to do in the real estate business is, even though we're busy, and I know a lot of you guys are busy as hell, a lot of you guys don't know when you're going to take a bathroom break. I know that. So what you got to do, though, what you got to remember to do is to continue to add the leads in the top of your business, right? You have to continue to add leads in, because as soon as you quit, now it's not going to stop the first day, because just like pouring oil in a funnel, it takes a minute, right? It takes a minute before it all drain out. You poured a lot in and it's kind of wide. And I'll be honest with you guys, right now, for a lot of us still in these areas that are crazy with the coronavirus, maybe our funnel is going to be a little wider, right? For some of us that are in other areas where the market slowed down a little bit, we're more in a buyer's market or a leaving market, the funnel will be a little thinner and you'll get to the bottom a little quicker, right? But either way, sooner or later, if you don't keep pouring leads in, there's going to be stuff that quits coming out the bottom. That's the bottom line. So we need to be focused on continuing to put new leads in the top of our real estate funnel, guys. So let's see. I'm going to take, hopefully that kind of helps you guys. I mean, that is that picture right there. I mean, maybe with some different wording on it, that should be the basis of everybody's business. That is your business plan, right? Whether it's Facebook ads, you're going to dump a lot of leads in the top. You're going to work through the people that have correct numbers, the people that want to do something. You're going to follow up with the correct numbers you didn't talk to. You're going to have a long-term plan for the people that you do that want to say something. And hopefully that long-term plan is going to turn into buyer appointments, seller appointments, and hopefully sign agreements, right? That's what your real estate business needs to look like. And honestly, the simpler it is, the least buckets. A lot of us will have 25 buckets. We're trying to get a lead from the Chamber of Commerce. We're trying to get leads from here. We're trying to get leads from over there. But guys, you can have 3 or 4 sources of leads, 5 sources of leads, and make a really, really good living in the real estate business. Honestly, I listed a lot of property, really focusing primarily on expired for sale owners or rent by owners in my sphere of influence. I've listed a lot of property and sold a lot of property focused on those 4 things. And to be quite honest with you, they're easy. They work together, right? And a lot of you guys, what you're doing is you're trying to focus on those 4 things. You're trying to focus on Facebook ads. You're trying to do some Google ads. You got another website out here that only God knows what's doing. You're worried about video. You're worried about all this stuff. And you got like 30 different strategies going on. And the problem is you don't have the time, you don't have the energy, and you don't have the resources to properly focus on those 30 or 40 different strategies, where you could get good at just 1 or 2 things and make a really, really lot of money in the real estate business. So let's see. Should you be using a dialer, a single or triple line dialer? Are they necessary? Okay, so if you are, so I'll tell you this, when I first started, Giovanni, I did not use a dialer, right? I would sit there, actually, I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd sit there with 2 cell phones and I'd dial one, hold it up to my ear, and I'd dial the next number and wait to see what happened on the first cell phone. And while I was leaving a voicemail, I would push the send button on the second cell phone, right? I've done that for years. It sucked and it was kind of hard and it was kind of a 2-phone process, right? But we didn't have a lot of options for dialers. So I'll tell you, I've used a single line dialer and I've used a triple line dialer. I prefer Redx's Storm Dialer because it integrates fully with Redx and integrates with the data that I'm already getting, right? So there's not like a bunch of logins or anything. There's not like hoping they all sync up today, right? Now, I would recommend using one. You're going to get through. It's going to keep you from procrastinating. It's going to keep you dialing the next number. But here's the deal. The triple line dialer for me, now the single line dialer, I'll tell you what, I like to put in my earphones, man. I like to play some YouTube videos in the background, maybe some music. For some reason, I think it's set up this way, but on my laptop, when somebody answers the phone, the volume from YouTube goes down, their voice volume goes up, right? So I don't really have to worry about hitting the pause button or mute button on YouTube. And I can listen to music. I can do other things. My hands are free. I can be on Facebook. I can do whatever I'm doing. You know? And single line is very comfortable for me. The triple line, a lot of agents love it. For me, I felt like it was making me rush through calls. Now you got through a lot more calls, but sometimes I'd be like, oh, damn, there's another person that answered. I need to finish up call number 1 that's going really well so I can call back call number 2, right? Me personally, I felt the triple line dialer. I felt like I got better results with the single line dialer because it was a comfortable pace for me. And it gave me plenty of time between, basically it gave me plenty of time on a call. triple line dollar, I felt like it rushed me, and for some reason I couldn't get past that. And I see some guys, I'll see them with two headsets on dialing triple line dollars. For me, dude, you know what, man? I wanted to be able to focus on the call that I had. And Richard Simpson here, he said that he's finding the single line dialer for him has a higher answer rate. I felt this exact same way. So I hope that helps with that question. So John said, concentrate on getting good at one or two things. What are the one or two things you concentrate getting good at? I'll tell you this, John, the number one thing that I think you need to get, and I think this is whether you're dealing with buyers, whether you're dealing with sellers, whether you're dealing just in another industry, the best thing that you can do for you, yourself, your family, and your checking account is to learn to get really, really good and comfortable on the phone. And the only way you can get good and comfortable on the phone, well, here's the deal. Dude, there's not an easy way. There's not a shortcut. The way to get good on the phone is just to make phone calls. And I see a lot of agents, they try to skip that. And they try to skip it, and you can't. You're not going to be good the first day, man. It's like playing golf, right? If we go play golf every 6 months, I'm going to suck at it, right? I played all the time when I was in college. I was a pretty good golfer when I moved to Myrtle Beach, which is like the golf capital of the world. As soon as I moved to Myrtle Beach, I literally quit playing golf. I don't play anymore. I suck, right? It's just like going to the gym. If you go to the gym, 3-4 times a week, you're probably going to be good at the gym, right? You're going to be in good shape. You're going to get on the treadmill and you're going to be good at it, right? You're going to get stronger. You're going to get faster. You're going to get leaner. All this stuff. If you never go to the treadmill, or you never go to the gym, you're probably gonna kind of suck going to the gym, right? So making calls is the same way. I relate it probably more to golf than anything because it's a skill that you're gonna build over time. And like I said, man, the best thing you can do for you, yourself, your family, your checking account is to get really, really, really good on the phone. So what are the questions you guys have? Let's see here. Richard, what gets the highest interest rate, a single line dialer or a 3-line dialer? We answered that just a second ago, but I'll tell you what, the single line dialer, Richard Simpson says he feels like he got a better answer rate with the single line dialer. I actually felt like I got a better answer rate with the single line dialer, and it keeps you from procrastinating. The triple line dialer, I felt like I was rushed through a little bit. The one I'd recommend is Storm Dialer with RedX. If you call RedX, they will actually tell them Jason Morris sent you. You're in real estate agents that really work, and they will waive the setup fees, or you go to jasonmorrisredx.com and they will do that. They will actually waive the fees if you use that link. So let's see here. I got some questions here that I've got to ask some here that we can go through. What questions do you guys have? Just go ahead and ask. Put it in the questions. Put it in the comments. I am more than happy to answer them. As long as we're getting questions here, man, I will. I'll be happy to stay on the call. So what do we get with my group coaching, Jason Morris Group Coaching? Well, Jason Morris Group Coaching, if you want to see what it's all about, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to throw a screen up here. I'm going to share with you real quick so you can see. I can write down a couple of things. So if you want to check it out, there is a video here. Now, go to jasonmorrisgroupcoaching.com. That's the website. Now, I'm going to give you guys a special code that are on the call with us tonight. If you use the code $1, right, it will make it $1 a month. Then it's $40 a month. Month after, it's month to month. You can cancel anytime. Just log in and cancel. Now, what do I focus on? I focus on cost-effective systems that are going to make your business work for you, right? All this is based on my experience, 17, 18 years in the real estate business. I grew a big team between leases and sales. We're doing over 400 transactions a year. I work 7 days a week, close to 20 hours a day, 22 hours a day. I literally think I had a stomach ulcer during that time. And I'll tell you what, the biggest thing was I wasn't really making as much money as other people thought it was. Right? I had a lot of overhead and I spent a lot of money on stupid stuff. Let's just be honest with you. So what I did was when I got burnt out, I got divorced. I think about we have a higher than average divorce rate in the real estate industry, I believe. And it's so when all that happened, I was super burnt out. I hated real estate. I wanted to quit. Now the thing was, I didn't really hate real estate. What I hated was I hated the business I created for myself. So what I did was I went back and I started looking at what parts of the business do I like, what parts of the business are going to have the most impact, right? What's the big domino? If I work on this one thing, what's the one thing going to be, right? And for me, that thing was listings. And what I learned through that process was I got really, really good at listings, and I got really good at creating a business that worked whether I was working that day or not, right? So that is what I primarily coach around, those ideas, those principles, and those things. You building a business that not only do you make the kind of money you want to make, but you have the kind of time that you want to have, right? If you want to go on trips, if you want to spend time with your family, whatever it is, the systems and stuff I teach, not only are they cost effective, they're systems that work with that idea that you can make the kind of money you want to make, plus have the kind of time you want to have. Now, do you have to work? I'll be honest with you. Yes, you have to work. You have to be disciplined. Yes, you have to be disciplined. You have to have a schedule. Yes, you have to have a schedule, right? There aren't really any shortcuts. But if you go to jasonmorrisgroupcoaching.com, I got a video that goes through it thoroughly on there. It's about 5 minutes. If you use the code at the checkout, $1 spelled out, it'd be $1 the first month. You can try it out. If you want to stay in it, great. It's $40 a month after that. If you want to quit, just go in and cancel before the first month's over, right? So worst case, you lost $1, and you still have access to all of my old coaching calls and all that stuff as soon as you join. So yeah, go ahead and check that out if you want, man. So let's see, question and answer. I'm looking at the RedX site, working on a very limited budget. What area of RedX would you suggest starting with? Okay, now I think, John, what you should start with, I would get the expireds, right? If I had a very limited budget, I think the regular expireds are $60. I would get the expireds. I tell you what, I'm going to pull up the site real quick. Here. I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to go down through it with you guys. Just go to jasonmorrisredx.com. That link is going to waive the $150 setup fee for you. So you want to make sure you do that. You want to make sure you save some money. So if you're a returning customer, call them, tell them I sent you, and they can set you up on something similar. Now, if I had a limited budget, what I would do, scroll down here. So we got the expired program, it's $59.99. Okay, what I would do, John, is I would call them. I would sign up for the $59.99 expireds. Okay, then I would call RedX, and they have a program. They will give you old expireds. Right now, I believe they're doing old expireds for free. Call them and ask after you sign up. But I would call and I would get the last 12 to last 24 months of expireds. And what I would do was I would take and divide that list number by 40, and I would take and start calling those leads. If you divide them by 40, if you don't have a dialer and you're real focused, you can do about 40 dials an hour. But you better be focused, right? If you do have a dialer, a single line dialer, you can probably get through 70, 80 calls an hour. But without a dialer, you get through about 40 an hour. You're probably going to end up with about 1,500, 2,000 numbers. RedX's system will actually sort the ones for you that have already been relisted. It's a little bit different depending on the MLS you're in. Some auto updates, some you got to do a little work when you're in. But tech support can walk you through how to do it. Okay, so that would be what I would get. And I'll tell you what, if you get 1,500 numbers and you call through them and use a simple script, hey, the Jason Morris with eXp Realty, I was wondering if you still wanted to sell your house, right? You're going to get probably about 1.5% to 2% that want to do something, but you got to call the whole list, right? Simple scripts, focusing on getting through the numbers, right? You still want to sell your house. That's the basic script, right? You're going to get about 1.5% to 2% are going to say they want to do something. So if you got 1,000 numbers, you're going to end up with about 15, 20 leads that want to do something in the next 30 days. If you call that, go ahead and call that list a second time, just immediately. Once you hang up that last number, just start back over with number one. You're going to get another half. So if you got 20 leads, if you got 2% of them want to do something, then probably the second time through, you're going to get another 1%. So you're going to get another 10. So what you're going to end up with, guys, is you're going to end up with about 20 to 30, maybe more people that want to do something in the next 30 to 60 days. And you think about that list of 20 people in my market would probably be worth somewhere around $100,000 if I listed all 20 and sold them. So you want to make sure that you are, so you want to take and call them, and then your job after that is really just to hammer those people and follow up with them, right? So now geo leads, so let's go through the rest of them real quick. Geo leads, I'll tell you what, I like geo leads. It's probably their most versatile program, but geo leads, I think there's a ton of strategies you can use with it. If I had to pick one, I'd still pick expireds, right? Okay, for sale by owners, I like for sale by owners. I like that what this program does for it, it aggregates them, it goes out there and finds them for you and puts them in your database. So all you gotta do is show up to the office, open up your laptop, and start making calls. So you get for sale by owners and you get expireds for $100 a month, right? You can't look up the numbers for yourself that way. For rent by owners, same thing, it aggregates them in. I like for rent by owners. If I had a limited budget, I'd still go with expireds, right? Pre-foreclosures the same way. A lot of markets, if you're thinking about the pre-foreclosures, call them, talk to them. They can tell you how many they're getting in your market. If you're in a super hot market, there might not be a lot of pre-foreclosures. If you're in a market that's average, that's not a buyer, not a seller market, might be a lot of them. I don't know. It's very dependent on your market as far as what you're getting. Now, one thing that you do get with this, guys, is you do get Vortex, which is their CRM. It is their CRM, and I'll tell you this, it's very cool. It's very easy to use. It's very user friendly. It has a lot of options and stuff with it. Now, would I get a dialer if I had a limited budget where I didn't have like $100 to spend? I wouldn't get the dialer, right? But I'll tell you, as soon as I could afford it, I would get the dialer, right? Because all of a sudden, instead of making 30, 40 calls and have to be really on top of it, really, really focused, right? This is just going to dial for you, and all you got to sit there is answer and say, hello, my name's Jason Morris. You know, I'm with DXP, and start the script, right? So that is what I would do. And actually, guys, look here, if you go to jasonmorrisredx.com and you click on it, I forgot about this actually. They got 13 prospecting scripts, and this is actually something that I helped them create. So and you can get that for free too. So just go to jasonmorrisredx.com and you can get that. So we're gonna stop the share there. Once you start making money, how should you split your gross commissions for marketing, taxes, running your business, paying yourself, etc.? Now, I'm gonna tell you this: I'm not an accountant, by any means here. So I'm gonna do this screen right here. We're gonna get rid of all my stuff from before. Well, if we can. Well, I don't think we can, so we're gonna leave it. So how would I split my commission? Well, guys, number one thing I would do is marketing. I'll tell you this, after I got rid of the big team and stuff, no, I didn't do as many transactions, but you know what? I was way more profitable. So, right, and if you focus on sellers, your marketing expenses are really going to go down. They're really going to go down a lot. If I was a new agent, I would really focus my marketing money would be spent pretty much just on Red-X, right? I spend probably about $250 a month. I get the expireds. I would get the expireds. I get the for sale owners. I would get Onyx, which is their premium service, and then I would get a dialer with them. So you're looking at around, I think it's running around $260 a month. Call them. You have to call for Onyx. Call them. Tell them I sent you. Tell them that you're in my coaching program if you want. In my coaching program, we go through a lot of that sort of stuff, and that would, I mean, it'd be under $300 a month, right? and that would be like all your marketing taken care of. So I don't think there's a ratio that works for everybody. Now, taxes, I would tell you this. I would talk to my tax professional. I would talk to somebody that's a CPA, somebody that works with other real estate agents. I would not talk to H&R Block. I'd talk to this other person. I'd talk to a professional, right? Professional CPA person. And I would look at what I'm making and I would set up a strategy for your taxes. And what I mean by that, some of them are going to tell you, I hear some agents go, hey, well, I just put 30% in an account. Guys, we're really fortunate. We're in a business where we have a tremendous amount of tax incentives, a tremendous amount of tax write-offs. I feel often like my whole life is a tax write-off, which is not, but I feel like that. Pretty much primarily everything I'm doing has something to do with my business, I feel like. But I would talk to that tax professional and see what it is. Of course, and then I would just set up a plan because there's so many options. You have IRAs, SEP IRAs, self-directed IRAs. You have depreciation on real estate. You got depreciation on your car. You got mileage on your car. You got all this stuff we can take off that I don't even know where to start because I don't know what your personal situation is. Now, I know there's a couple of different ways you can do it. Some agents just take all the money they make and that's what they make, right? And they don't pay themselves a salary. I'll tell you this, like one of the options that I've seen a lot of agents do, and I think it's probably good for a lot of agents, but you got to have the steady cash flow and you got to have the steady money coming in, is they actually write themselves a check every month, right? A lot of agents aren't really in that position. They're literally living commission check to commission check. And even that, guys, I would talk to a CPA and I would talk to a tax professional about setting that up. There's several ways you can do it. There's ways you can do it depending on your state. I don't know what your state is, and I hate to give anybody tax advice, but I've seen people do it through S corps. I've seen people do it through LLCs. I've seen some things where they get around the self-employment tax. However, they're still paying in Social Security. They're still paying in state and federal income tax, and there's some benefits to doing that. But I've seen other things where they talk about benefits to just doing distributions from your corporation and expensing things out at the corporate level. I think it's best, like I said, to talk to your tax professional and get a good idea from them, and then look at your business and what you want to do and how your business is actually set up. I think that's a big deal. So, running the business. Okay, so like when should you hire your first assistant? Okay, so this is going to be something that I've seen a lot of people disagree and agree with me on. Now, I would look at my business. Now, I believe that we need to set standards for our business. And the easiest thing to set standards with quickly is what type of buyer are you going to work with and what type of buyer you're not going to work with, right? I think your first hire that's the easy hire for every single person listening to this call is a buyer's agent. Okay, so why is this your first hire? Okay, number one, they cost $0. Okay, they cost $0. And this arrangement can be a 50-50 split. It can be a 30-70 split, whatever you find is fair. I think you can find a little better agent if you're being a little more generous with commission split with them, or you're being really generous with fees. If you're getting 1 lead a week, 2 leads a week, it's probably not enough to find somebody that can dedicate more time to you. If you're getting 10, 15 leads a week, or you're getting 2 or 3 really, really high quality leads a week, which you will get if you build a listing heavy business, 2 or 3 high quality leads a week, then you can actually put an agent on your team, right? And that way you get a little piece of what they sell too. Not saying that that's the way to go or that's the best way. Sometimes I felt like, hey, whatever they do is theirs. I just want them to work my business too, right? But they don't cost any money. Okay, now when would I hire my first actual administration person? Guys, I think one thing that a lot of us do is we try to get out of doing stuff. We get good at doing something, and then we want to give that something to somebody else. Now, the first admin person that I would hire, I'll tell you this, I was selling 80, 85 properties a year plus some referrals, and I've done that for years with me and a part-time assistant. And what that assistant did was she come in at 11 o'clock, and typically she worked from 11 to like 3, and she had another job. And what she did was basically she handled my paperwork and she handled some errands for me and stuff. Now, the reason I had her come in at 11 is that was because she didn't interrupt me prospecting. Okay. Now, what I've had before is I'd have assistants that come in at 8 or they come in at 9, right? And I'd start making calls at 8. They get there at 9. So at 9 o'clock, they're coming in and they're going, hey, what are you doing? What do you want me to do? All this stuff. And the problem was they would just have, the problem was they had basically, they would interrupt my prospecting time. Then they take 30, 40 minutes, and then it was hard for me to get back on track, right? And it was a problem that I'd created for myself. Now, once I got a person that was coming in at 11 that was part-time, and all they worried about was my paperwork, and all they worried about was basically taking my stuff and making sure it got where it wanted to go, and they had minimal tasks that they were really, really focused on. Dude, I felt like they were more productive. I was more productive. They didn't interrupt me. Dude, that's been the best relationship I've had. And then if you want an assistant to do the blog posts, you want them to do things like that, work on your website, guys, just go to Fiverr, just go to Upwork and hire somebody that specializes in it, right? I mean, that's the easiest thing to do. So let's see, what is the next question here? So what is Red-X Onyx? Okay, so Red-X Onyx is the premium version for Red-X. Okay, this is I understand, this is the version I use, but let me tell you what it does, okay? So the regular version, they use an algorithm and they mine data. So what data mining actually is they have access to databases, and they'll take an address and they take the information from the taxes and the expired listing, and they basically search that information, and they come up with what is possibly the best contact number for it. Now, if you're subscribing to the regular service, that's $59.99 that you can subscribe to going to jasonmorrisredx.com. If you're subscribing to that service, that's a great service, but the thing is, it's the regular service. Okay, you're going to get a lot of good numbers, and anyway, it's the regular service. The premium service, Onyx, what that is they give you their algorithm set up a little different. That's why it costs a little bit more, because they're having to mine through more data and they're having to extract more data for you. So what they're doing is, let's say you got 123 Main Street expired yesterday. They're taking and they're giving you all of the data that they can get for 123 Main Street. So you're going to get, honestly, you're going to get a lot of numbers that are hard to get. You're going to get a lot of cell phone numbers. You're going to get a lot. You may get some that it's like, the 16-year-old kid's cell phone number, right? So in somewhere or another, in some database, that kid has taken and associated his phone number with the address. And you know what? That's an easy call when that happens. All you're doing is going, hey, well, this is Jason Morris. How can I get in touch with your mom or dad? It's an easy call. I mean, easy transition for that. And it's an easy one. But if you got the money, now I will tell you this, you may get anywhere from 4 to 10 numbers for every single expired. And what your job is remember we talked about the funnel, and we talked about the first level of the funnel. You got to have a dialer if you're getting Red-X Onyx. Do not try to do it without a dialer. It's too much data for you to go through. But your job is to sift through that data and look for the good numbers and look for the stuff that's going to come out. That's what your job is. So Red Exonics, you're going to get more data, you're going to get more numbers, and you're going to get harder to get numbers, right? And that's what it is. So let's see here. I got a couple of questions I've got asked. I'd like to go through real quick. So how many days a week should you work? So me personally, I do training and coaching on Thursdays. Thursdays really dedicated a lot to training and coaching real estate agents. So really, like on my real estate business and on my personal real estate business, I typically work 4 days a week. Sometimes I do stuff on Saturdays, depending on what I got going on. Now, I believe that we're in a business where, you know, I think that it's acceptable for the kind of money most of us want to make. I think that we should expect to work 4 or 5 days a week, right? For the kind of money a lot of us want to make, we should expect to work 5 to 5.5 days a week. Working 6 days a week, working 7 days a week, you're going to burn out. Like, just being honest with you. I think you should set your schedule up for 5 days a week if you're full time, right? And I think you should set your schedule up so that you're prospecting every day that you're working. And there's a couple of reasons. One of the big reasons I think you should prospect every day that you work is because you're going to get really good at it that way. If you prospect 1 day a month, it's going to be hard for you to get good at it. If you prospect 5 days a week, you're going to get good at it a lot quicker. You're going to build that learning curve, right? So I think if you're full-time selling real estate, I think you should do 5 days a week. So next question here. So what is the best CRM? Real estate CRM? I think the best real estate CRM is the CRM that you're going to use. There's so many out there, so many different options. I'll tell you what, the thing that I've found to be the most successful, if you're using RedX, you're going to get their Vortex. So you're already going to have access to that, right? And that's what you're going to keep up with their data. I would not look for anything else. But I'll tell you this, man, the CRM that I used that was easy for me was I used a 5-subject notebook, and I've used that 5-subject notebook idea forever. During my group coaching, look down through the files. I got some lead sheets in there. And that's basically the idea for my 5-subject notebook. That was the best attempt at putting that on paper so you guys would understand it. So what do you think about the do not call list? Should we call or should we avoid those? Man, I don't want to tell you to do anything illegal, right? I would if I were you, I'd make that decision on your own. Do I call the do not call list? I call everybody. Right? And one of the reasons I do is because, you know what, I got their number. I feel an obligation to call them. Right? That's me. Okay. I think Giovanni, I think you should do the best thing. You know what? If somebody brings it up, somebody says, hey, I'm on the do not call list, don't call me back. Say, hey, no problem. I won't call you back. Delete their number. Right? That's it. I mean, that's all. But I would, I'd encourage you to, do the research in your state, do the research with your association, and, do what you think's best for you. And what do you think's best for your business, right? So let's see. What to do if your office is not helping you? Your real estate office is not helping you. Man, I think that we should, it doesn't matter which office you're at, if your real estate office isn't helping you and giving you the things that you need, I think you should go to a different office or interview different offices, right? There's so many commission splits. Which office is the best? I work for eXp Realty. I like it there. It's great for me. It's a great setup. I work from home a lot anyway. For other agents, I don't know. It's personal preference. There's no right or wrong, right? There's no real. I've seen agents. I'll tell you this. I've seen agents that would move to an office and they would fail horribly, and I've seen agents at that same office that would do amazing, right? And I've seen agents doing amazing, get upset over a commission split or some stupid reason and leave that office, and then when they go to the next office, It's a different atmosphere, different people, and they never get back to where they were with the previous office, right? And sometimes just the people you're around, sometimes it's the team. I would look for atmosphere over office. Um, if I was in a regular brick and mortar office, I'd definitely look for atmosphere over office. If you go in, it's like being at a funeral home. Do not go there. If you go in, it's exciting. People have stuff going on. Everybody's positive. Dude, hey, if you can live with the fees, you can live with the commission splits. Hey, sign up and sign up. That's what I would do. I'd look for the one that has stuff going on and has a positive atmosphere and a positive network. Now, can you get that atmosphere not being at a brick and mortar office? You can. I mean, you can. You know what? Through AXP, I talk to people all over the country. Now, a lot of it's more phone conversations, a lot of it's texting, Facebook Messenger, stuff like that. But, you know, guys, you can always create the environment you want to be in. You know, find those 4 or 5 agents across the country that you're working on the same things, you're working on stuff that you're communicating with, and that you can talk about your stuff. Talk about your goals, you can talk about your plans, you can talk about the problems you're having, right? I think that's the way to go. So how do you go from full part-time real estate agent to full-time real estate agent? So I'm going to tell you this. How do you go from that? Well, number one, you got to make a schedule. You got to make a schedule. And if I was part-time, I would take if I was part-time Monday through Friday, regular job, selling real estate in the afternoons on the weekends, I would take those afternoons and I would take that weekends. And I would make calls as much as possible, because those sellers, their house can get shown while you're at work tomorrow. If you're working with buyers and that buyer has a property that pops up on the market, you probably can't get off work to go meet them to unlock the door. But if you list that seller's house, you can set up with showing time. You can set up with centralized showings. There's a bunch of showing services out there, and that house can get shown while you're at work and you're clocked in at your other job, right? I was on a cruise in the middle of the Caribbean one year and sold 3 houses while I was on the boat, and I made $17,000, right? I could not do that with buyers. So if I had a limited amount of time, I'd work with as many sellers as possible, try to talk to as many sellers as possible. I'd work my butt off afternoons, weekends, all I could. And once I got 3 or 4, 5, you're probably only 2 to 4 transactions away from being able to quit your job anyway. So that's what I would do. So how do you get your first listing appointment? How do you get your first listing appointment? What I would do is, if I didn't have any money, I was a brand new agent, zero budget, I would start hitting Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and Zillow for sale owners. That's what I would do. I would start calling them up. And you know what? My goal would be just to get in front of anybody, and as many of anybody's as I could. And I would really dumb down my script. I'd use a simple script, which my scripts are really simple. You can get them. The easiest way to get them is join my coaching program, and you get everything. But if you don't want to do that, you go to Amazon, you can buy one of my books, How to Be a FSBO Master, How to Be an Expired Master, and you'll get my scripts. And what I would do is I would dumb them down as much as possible. Hey, Mr. Seller, this is Jason Morris from eXp Realty. Basically, do you want to sell your house? How much is it? How soon do you want to sell it? Can I come look at it today? Right? I try to get my foot in the door and try to get on as many of those appointments as possible starting out, just so you can get the feel of what's going on, right? Just so you get in front of some sellers, just so you get comfortable. Now, you need to build a system, and you need to build a process around that. And that's what I teach in my group coaching. And anyway, guys, well, I tell you what, I really appreciate you guys being on this call with me. I hope there was some stuff on here that you guys got some ideas from. I hope I helped some of you guys with your problems and stuff. And guys, if I can help you, just send me a message through Facebook. I'll be happy to. And I hope that you guys have a great day. Thanks so much. Hey, thanks, Giovanni. I appreciate you guys being on here. Thanks, Diane. Thanks, John. And thanks, Paula. Thanks, Joanne. Thanks to everybody that's hung on the call with me. And give me some feedback about this. Let me know what you thought about it. Send me a message. Let me know what you thought about tonight's call. And I appreciate you being here. Thanks so much.